Yeah, Coach, y'all went through that rough stretch there for a few games, and I'm wondering how is the vibe different around the building now after two straight wins and coming off a big one against LSU?
Well, I think you stay true to what we started off this summer with with Coach Muss and all of the concepts that we've been teaching, and eventually at some point, all that's going to start coming to a head, and you start playing well based on some of the concepts that we started with, and I think it just carried over. I think it's carried over from probably the last 4 games. You saw some things that were starting to take place with this basketball team, and then it all just started to come together in the last 2 games.
I'm curious what your early impressions are of South Carolina as y'all start prepping for them.
Well, they do go small on occasionally, and those guys are all creators off the dribble. They can create shots, can make some shots, and they're a big team, which now going to be a team that's going to, with shot goes up, they're going to get to the glass. You got a flyer in Brian, who's Keyshawn Bryant, who's going to be on the perimeter. But anytime there's a shot or a drive to the basket, he's chasing that ball to the basket. So we got to rebound the ball. We got to take care of the basketball to not give them opportunities to score. No different than what on any basketball team you're trying to get done.
Bob.
Hey, Keith. I know it can be hard to compare scores, but Vanderbilt comes here and wins, and then they go back home, and South Carolina goes into national and beats them. Is that something? Just what do you think about that? And I guess what does that say about the SEC's balance? And do you talk to your team about that?
Well, yeah, but sometimes it's just hard to look at another team and see what they did against another team because all the personnel is different. I've tried to play golf, and I never can get the ball in the same place every time I go off and tee off, or hit a 7-iron somewhere. I know where I want to get it, but I can't always get it in that spot. So you kind of just got to focus on what you got to do for that next opponent that you're going to play against. Because I think a lot of times your team and that team are completely different when you watch them play against someone else on television.
And then last week you just beat Missouri, you win by 44, and then you go and have a huge comeback win at LSU. Do you have to guard against I guess a letdown, or especially with a quick turnaround? It seems like it's just a couple days to come down from the high of that LSU. And how do you handle that?
Well, we shared with the team yesterday that what do you think South Carolina is thinking? Hey, here's a team, Arkansas, backs against the wall. They had a big impressive win against Missouri. They eventually went to LSU and they won. So South Carolina is probably saying the same thing from a teaching standpoint. That team, we can do the same thing they did. We can come in here, they on the basketball high for the most part, and the same thing can happen.
So do you talk to your guys about that, or how do you handle that?
Oh yeah, you just keep focusing on what you got to get done. Here's a team coming in that's going to be desperate, a team that has their back against the wall. And if you don't go out and try to impose your will on the game, you can allow this team to play with you and allow this team to, because they don't care what you just did. It's all about what you're going to focus on getting ready to play in this game here.
And then do you have an update on Kamani Johnson with his ankle, his availability for this game? Yeah. Now he's working hard with the trainer, with Matt Townsend, trying to get himself ready. Won't know anything until we go to shoot around go to practice this morning, and then eventually get to this afternoon. And then obviously watching what he does, because he's going to do a little bit more on the floor today. So with the trainers, and then we'll see where he's at by the time we get ready for the game. Okay, I might have a couple more, but I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Nate.
I guess Stevenson, the leading scorer, just kind of what kind of a player is he, and what kind of support does he get?
And we showed him on film and yesterday, and just showed that this kid can create off the dribble. He has a long range game, which is 3-point. He can get to the basket, and then he also can. He's very crafty off the dribble. So he has a chance to make plays and make shots. You got to be careful with him, because as he's running down the floor, he can get his 3-point game going. You got to find him at all times.
I guess Reese is our other leading scorer, just the kind of player is he.
Yep, same thing. 3-point shooter. He had a break. Looking at him on a couple clips, he had a break, and he probably had a layup to go to, but he stopped at 3-point line because he got super confidence in his 3-point shooting, and he pulled up for a 3 and he made the shot. So he can too, because you're going to close out hard to him, but at the same time, he has the ability to put the ball on the floor and drive as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis.
Hey, Coach, I know all you guys have different in-game responsibilities, and you obviously stepped up and filled Muss's shoes. I'm just curious who filled yours, or maybe what the trickle-down effect was there and how you thought that communication went at LSU.
Yeah. I think the one thing when someone moves over, I was out sick a little bit with some COVID, and someone stepped in my gap. So the way it moved over, Coach Ivy had surgery. I moved over one seat. Gus moved over one seat, Clay moved over one seat. So it just kept moving over a seat, but our responsibility during the course of a basketball game stays pretty close to the same. And so, the way that it's set up here, we all have responsibilities daily, and each guy is ready to fill into that spot because, when you incorporate recruiting in that, sometimes one of us is not here because we're out recruiting. And so someone fills that gap.
And then JD is obviously so important to you guys from a scoring standpoint. How'd you feel like the team handled those stretches where he was out with foul trouble? And then when you're in those situations, who do you look to score?
Well, in that case there, you want to make sure that he's not reaching and getting some delicate fouls because you're going to need him late in the game. And that's when you start going through committee, trying to figure out what player you need to give you buy time on the clock, buy time on the floor. He's not disrupting what you're trying to get done until you can get JD back on the floor. And I think we had a committee of that between Chris Likes, KK came in for a quick spell. Devo obviously came in and played well. So all those guys kind of fit together. And that's what a team does. A team figures out ways how to do things.
Thank you.
Scotty.
Hey, Coach, it seemed like you guys really figured some things out defensively last week. I'm curious, what do you think has changed, or what are some things that improved after that slow start?
And I think the rebounding for one, the 3-point shooting, or it could be that you're changing, playing against different teams that don't emphasize the three as much. You got certain guys that can shoot it. So I think that combination helped. But I think a lot of the concept that, that Muss has instilled here and what we worked on so much leading up to the last 4 games, I would say, guys start being in a position where they're supposed to be. Guys going to blockouts. We say block out when you're on perimeter, you don't go into the paint to rebound. You go to an elbow ready to chase a ball down or block a guy out from there. Shot goes up, you step to your guy first. You seek him, and then you box him out. And I think all that stuff started coming together for us, and we hope that this team can continue to do that.
Do you feel like any player in particular is maybe hitting their stride defensively, or maybe just getting it more than they were in previous games?
I think more than anything, you want to make sure that, and Coach can tell you this as well, you want to make sure your team is developing defensively and offensively, because if you just kind of wait for your offense or one player to develop on either side of the ball, well, it's still a team game. So you got to just make sure the entire team is developing and growing. And I think that's what happened over the last 5 games or so, 4.5 games.
Bob, you got a follow-up?
Yeah, Keith, we all saw Devo go down and lose his tooth. And I guess he came out briefly and went back in, and we saw on Twitter, I guess he got it fixed. What do you think about that play? I mean, if I lost a tooth, I'd probably be, I'd be done for the day, I think. What do you think of how he handled all that? I guess the toughness he showed and dealing with that.
Well, you guys have been around Devo longer than I have, and you know how he competes, and he's a competitor. And I asked him that question of how do you when you fell, you decided that your face was going to be the first thing to hit the floor. And he had a conversation. He said, I didn't want to take all the brunt of the fall with my wrist. Now, how do you think that in the middle of a fall like that, a tumble like that? But that's what he was thinking, that I would just take it with my face and not embrace myself. So, but he's a competitor. He wanted to play, and was able to just bring the tooth over, hand it off to Matt, and then got back in the game.
Did they put that tooth back, or is it a fake tooth, or do you know what
I'm smart, but I'm not sure. I wasn't at the dentist, so I don't know what they did with it.
Okay, I'll try to check on that. And then Stanley, he's obviously a scorer, but I know Eric had talked about how he needed to rebound more, and then he got 6 boards in limited minutes. What'd you think in 8 points? What'd you think of his game the other day, and especially with his rebounding? Is that something maybe he can build on? Maybe he just kind of got hey, I better rebound if I want minutes.
Well, if a coach is telling you, and Coach Muss has told him this hundreds of times, and every other staff member as well, for you to have a chance to be productive on the floor, you've got to rebound. you have to go pursue the basketball. And I think in the last game or so, he did that. And for a guy that plays a position between a 4-3, one of the key components to any of those guys playing those positions, they have to rebound the basketball.
Do you think Stanley will do better with that moving forward?
Well, we hope. Everything is game by game. You focus on, these are not seasoned professionals. These are young men, student athletes that are still trying to grow, and you're trying to get them to do something that they haven't done before. There's demands on them rebounding. There's demands on them to focus on the game and how they approach each and every game, and that's what he's getting here.
Yeah. Do you think? I mean, I know you coached NBA games and all, so it's not like you were a rookie the other day, but that was your first game coaching this team, your first game coaching as a college head coach. Is there a little more comfort level for this game Tuesday night? I don't mean like you take it easy, but I mean, you just feel like, okay, I've done this. It's worked pretty well,
when you've coached as long as I coached and you're coaching every seat on the bench, you go into the game is the same. Nothing is different. They're going to play the game, and you go in with the same personality that you have of yourself, and you coach. And so I didn't quite understand. And once I got into the game coaching, I'm like, are there 8 more minutes that I can use? Because you're used to coaching a longer game. But obviously you coach a shorter game. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I adjusted to within the game was how quickly it moved.
And I saw where Eric, I wasn't there, but I saw on Twitter, he went to the women's game yesterday as a fan. Right. I'm just wondering, is he coming to practice or anything, or kind of what's the interaction like with Eric leading into this game?
Well, we'll see what coach does, and as he tries to get healthy, that's the biggest thing, the biggest key for him. And I've talked with him and shared that with him about getting healthy so we can get him back on the sideline. And so we'll see what he does, today or tomorrow, how you feel this morning getting up, and then get over to, if he's going to come over to practice, what he's going to choose to do.
And then with Eric not there, I guess there's somebody that can be on the floor coaching, I would assume. If so, who is that? Is that Ronnie, or is that Ruda or Michael, or who's doing that?
This is the first time being back at home, and now going into a practice where we'll be on the floor. And so we'll move into today, and we'll see which one of those coaches will step in. And but myself, Clay, and Gus will be on the floor kind of managing a great deal of what we do.
BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile wagering to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE to get started. That's BLEAV. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.